The Stage Door Show. Celebrating the independent artist. With Dave Hondell and Tom Klein.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Stage Door tonight. Very excited to be with Tom Klein in Florida, and we got our special guest here, Mike Bova and Marc Price. Thanks. Welcome to the show, guys.
Also in Florida.
Oh,
are you in Florida?
Oh, Florida?
I am. I'm in
nice.
Ormond by the Sea, not far from Daytona or Augusta.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm
Nice.
an hour away from. Well, I'm an hour and 40 minutes from you right now. I used to work over there.
Very cool.
So we're neighbors.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. You're in driving distance. Like if I had to work out, that's as far as I'll go. Hour 40. That's it for me.
Right.
But it's a beautiful little town. Are you like walking distance over to the Atlantic?
Indeed, just about a block. And I just kind of fell into this. I was on the road when everything got crazy, and I ended up just staying because, frankly, because it's so nice here. I felt
beautiful.
safer here than I did in the city of LA.
Yeah, it's nice there.
LA's holding up well compared to New York, but yeah, Ormond, I'm guessing number of deaths is like 0 or.
Thankfully, LA is holding up, but I didn't know what would happen next there. I thought maybe the whole city would implode, but I'm glad it's hanging on good.
Absolutely.
I think we all are. Yeah, they're actually a really nice example of. I guess the governor's done a great job of kind of locking it down for considering all things considered. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
And what do you think about here in Florida?
Miami didn't go well, but outside of Miami, right now we seem to be doing pretty good. You know.
But they're opening everything back up again. Won't that change?
Well, that's a little scary. I'm actually staying inside. I'm going to let everybody else run out. I did a thing on Facebook. To me, everybody running out are like the red shirts on Star Trek. Like you guys may not make it.
Yeah. Well, Mike and Marc, you guys are longtime friends, and I know you guys toured together a lot. And I know last time we had Mike on the show, Marc, he told us some really crazy stories about staying in Motel 5s and all kinds of really cool things. They didn't leave the light on for you.
Well, Mike knows that if somebody else is paying for the room, then, sky's the limit.
Right. Yeah.
When it's me, we try to go for the least. I actually prefer, he knows this, I prefer a motel with a door that opens outside.
Okay.
Versus a fancier hotel where you're on the 3rd floor and the window doesn't open, or the 15th floor and the window doesn't open. Right. Those kind of places aren't as good to me as ones where you have a door that opens and you don't even have to take your stuff in from the car. The car becomes the suitcase.
Right. And the reason the windows don't open is somebody like Marc can't jump to his death.
There you go. Yeah.
It's out.
Now, what's really funny is, I picked Marc up when Marc first came into town. Like our first gig was in Oswego, New York. It was Halloween night, and that's when the tour started. And so I'm expecting to pick Marc up at a fancy hotel, and Marc's he's like at a Super 8 or something like that. I'm like, where are you, man? He's like, I'm at the Super 8. I'm like, get the heck out of here, right? It just surprised me. But Marc does he does like those hotels. We did stay at a Super 8 when we were down towards New York City, but I like the fancier hotels. I just like, all the perks and stuff like that, but it is what it is.
Life on the road,
right now in Florida, I'm staying at, hold on, I guess that's the camera. Okay. So I'm staying at, it's an old person's little house.
Nice.
Nice.
But I've got the whole old person, look, they've got the old phone.
Wow.
That's the original.
That's awesome. That's an old person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very comfortable. It turns out I'm an old person.
Mm-hmm.
An old Jew. I guess it's required by law.
So let me ask, because last time we did this with Mike, we kind of caught up on what's happened with him since, everything went into lockdown. But Marc, what's your life been? Obviously, you were at Ormond on the beach. That's it? You just parked it and went, this is me for a while? I mean,
well, it goes a little further. The local radio station and we teamed up and we started a little bit of during the lockdown, a special show. And so I've been on every day at noon, from noon to 2. Seriously. And
I believe it.
It's called Totally Back to the 80s, and it's kind of an escape show. And you can go, can I promote it? Am I allowed to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure,
Of course.
yeah.
You go to therockofdaytona.com, and you can listen to it live weekdays at noon, or they have sample shows up there. Or you go to Alexa or Google, and you say, okay, Google, play WROD 104.7, and it does.
So it's Word.
Wow.
WROD. Yeah, that'd be easy to remember.
Nice.
WROD. It's Rock of
Rod.
Daytona.
Oh, Rod. It's Road.
Yeah.
Rock of Daytona. The Rock of Daytona.
Okay.
I'm near Daytona Beach. Ormond by the Sea is just 2 little cities. You know, there's Ormond, and then there's
Ormond by the beach. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I thought it
where
was
the
just
famous
Ormond.
spring breaks are. And,
No. It's Ormond and then Ormond by the beach. It's like a mini Ormond.
So I lived in Florida for 8 years myself, and we went to Daytona quite a few times, and I didn't realize there was an Ormond by the beach.
You gotta go north. You gotta go north and then a little more north.
Okay.
Ormond has the PBA golf thing, I think, but Ormond on the beach has Marc, and that's
Marc.
I probably shouldn't tell.
Which is better.
I'm not supposed to give away the secret, but really, you keep going, and then there's the Flagler Beach. There's the Palm Coast. All of that area is really spectacular. There's a lot of room, and it's real pretty, and I like it. I like it. The beach, gorgeous.
Have you been up to St. Augustine yet? It's just a hop, skip, and a jump.
Played there just right. There was the last gig I did before everything crushed in. We did that the first weekend in March. And then, of course, by the second weekend in March, there was nobody doing anything. The NBA closed. Do you think that was the moment the NBA stopped, that was it? Everybody was like, oh, man. That was the one that did it.
I absolutely, yeah. The minute they went down, it's like, shit just got real. The NBA closed.
That's the truth.
Wow. Marc, real quick, I know that you've been doing stand-up. I know Mike has told me you've been doing it since you were 9 years old, and I know your father was a famous stand-up comic, correct? Al Burney? Yes,
and so people are like, who? How is he famous? But he comes from a few generations back. So he was big on the radio in 1940 with Fred Allen. And he had a show in early television, and he was on with Ed Sullivan before the Ed Sullivan Show was even called the Ed Sullivan Show. It was called Toast of the Town with their host, Ed Sullivan. And he was on Ed Sullivan.
Going way back.
Well, he we're back. We're back. And so anyway, he was a great pioneer of stand-up. He did so many things the first time anybody ever did them, or early on in the game. Like in the 30s, he made a movie because he did impressions. And in the movie, he plays all the different characters in a courtroom. The judge and one of the is W.C. Fields, and another attorney is, I think the judge is Groucho Marx, and he's doing impressions of everybody, but he's playing everybody in the scene, and kind of like they've done many times in movies since then with Eddie Murphy or whatever.
Right.
They shoot over people's heads and kind of make it look like it's the back of his head. And anyway, it was amazing from the 30s.
Well, I saw in 1990. Speaking of stand-up comic, you were in Australia. I want to say in 1990. I saw a clip on YouTube that you were on a show in 1990 and did stand-up, and you were amazing. I mean, you really did a great job, and the crowd really loved you. It was a TV show, and I don't know the name of the show, but it was a great clip. I think it was after Family Ties, and you were doing a tour out there in Australia. But it was a very funny clip. You're telling some very funny stories.
It's not on anymore, that show, but it was a classic show for many years in Australia. It's called Hey Hey It's Saturday.
Hey It's Saturday. That's right.
Between Saturday Night Live and Captain Kangaroo, because the host has a puppet.
Okay.
And it's very unusual, but anyway, they were very nice to me. And when you do it, everyone in Australia, at least it used to be this way. It's been a while. You go on their TV shows, and you're in their newspaper and on their radio, and they're all national. Everyone sees the same TV shows, and everyone hears the same radio station. Everyone reads the same newspapers. And so you get into some big stuff PR-wise, and you're like an overnight, sensation in the whole nation.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Speaking of movies, you were talking about your dad in a movie, and Mike, tell me if you knew this about Marc, or tell me, Marc, if this is not true. you were in a movie called Killer Tomatoes over Eat France, and you played a character who said his name was Michael J. Fox or something like that. What the hell was that all about?
It goes even deeper. There was a George Clooney was in the one right before that. I actually took that role over for George Clooney. No joke. George Clooney, before he got hot and it was on ER and all that stuff, one of the last things he did before he got really big and famous was this Killer Tomatoes movie.
Wasn't there a whole series? Killer Tomatoes is that like they just kept going with the Killer Tomato thing?
They started it out of college. These San Diego guys, they're really great guys too. And when they did it out of college originally, the first one, no one noticed it. But then there was this thing called the World's Worst Film Festival in New York City. And they called them and they said, hey, we want to put the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes in the World's Worst Film Festival. And they said, okay, but only if we win. And they made a deal. They cut a deal. And they won the World's Worst Film Festival. And it took off from there. And it's been a cult favorite with that crazy song and all that stuff. For years, they played it like Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight shows and stuff.
Oh, that's funny.
Silly film.
Mike, I know that during we were talking about Marc's beard during the COVID-19 quarantine, and you have a new parody because those of you who didn't catch our first podcast, Mike is a hilarious parody artist and also a stand-up comic, and he does some really great parodies. So I know is it possible we can get you to do the quarantine song?
I just want to say something about Marc. When Marc was here, Marc stayed with us. My girls. My daughters love Marc. They call him Uncle Marc. We renamed the spare room Uncle Marc's room. And so Marc was showing us. He was showing us clips of the movie. Of
the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah, of the Killer Tomato movie, and my girls were not impressed. But it was quite like, what is this? But they were impressed with Family Ties. With some of the episodes of Family Ties. We're like, well, let's get you something a little bit, more
right.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, man.
That's hilarious.
Well, you have a beautiful family. You're a great family man, Mike. That's one of the reasons why I love you.
All right.
So you wrote a song about quarantining with the family, or?
Well, I wrote a song about it's a parody about being quarantined. What is it now, like day 39 or something?
Oh man,
at least
it feels like 50.
Yeah. So
more.
I'm thinking about somebody had told me that one of their friends was not shaving their armpits. One of their right. So I'm just thinking, it's one thing to have a beard. It's another thing to have like armpit hair. So here we go. There's a jungle in armpit jungle tonight, right? There's a jungle in armpit jungle. You need to shave tonight. You need to shave, you need to shave, you need to shave, you need to shave. Yeah. So.
Sponsored by Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah. And then it goes on and on, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, I know, Marc, real quick, Marc, and I was looking at who all was on Family Ties, and I'm not talking about just you guys, you or Tracy Pullen or some of the ones that were the regulars, but I mean, I was stunned. It's River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Tom Hanks, Mara Tierney, Gina Davis, Crispin Glover, David Faustino, Will Wheaton, Martha.
Wow.
You guys had like this cavalcade of talent that rolled through there. And I mean, what was it like for you at the time? Some of them probably had not yet really hit big, but I mean, that
many of them hadn't. Many of them hadn't. Tom Hanks was already pretty big. I don't think any of them became as iconic as they are now. As you read back that list, I go, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, it was.
But I was pretty lucky myself because I was kind of a guest, like you mentioned. I just kind of guested a lot, and they were so nice to me. And that's the way they were to all the guests. Everybody loved coming on the show because the cast really. I guess other casts can kind of ignore the outside people and just kind of make it like an inside game. And this one really opened up their arms to all the guests that came on. Everybody had a great time. Gina Davis was in one of my favorite episodes ever. She was in a few of them, but there was one where I still laugh to this day when I think about it. And Tom Hanks, of course. I remember I first met him on the Bosom Buddies show.
Oh, you were on that?
Oh, yeah.
No, I actually just went to Paramount Studios where they shot it. And I was going around Paramount.
I love that show.
Yeah, he came over and said hello and did some shtick for me. I was just like a kid in the bleachers, but he wanted to pay attention and everything. That was before anybody knew who he was. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, that's a great story.
I wanted to know too, because Tracy Poland ended up playing Michael J. Fox's girlfriend, but the two of them married. They're still together, right? What was it like watching that romance blossom, like right there on the set in front of you?
Well, he cast for his wife. I know that. That's a good thing. I don't want to do that. I did that too, I guess, in a sense, because I've got my forever love now. And I cast for her in a way, you could say.
Yes.
But honestly, the girl that played his girlfriend there, Tracy, that they had international casting. They had every actress in the world that wanted to play that and was suggested for it come in. And many of them read with him and stuff like that. And then she was chosen. I don't know. Maybe the executive producer chose her. I don't know. But It worked out. I think he had something to do with it.
It was a good call on this part because, it ended up being your wife for life.
She was still dating Kevin Bacon at that point.
Oh, was she really?
One degree of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, one degree from Kevin Bacon. That is as close as you can get.
No, I wanted to ask Mike real quick. I know that Mike, that you've been doing a lot during the quarantines. I see a lot of Facebook Live posts that you do, and I mean you're all over social media. And you have some projects. I know some on-demand projects, and I wanted to ask you about. So talk to our listeners and our viewers about some of your on-demand stuff that you have going on right now.
Yeah, so I've got, we did a show with the Syracuse Funny Bone. It was an awesome show. It was a big crowd on a Sunday night, and they were so gracious to us to bring us in when they bring in, national headliners and all that. And they were like, we'll bring you guys in. Great show. We had it professionally recorded, and that is on demand. It's so funny because, like, when you have, like, digital downloads, like I've got my song Dunkane on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. And so I know I've sold a lot of downloads because it climbed. Dunkane was his highest number 2 in the comedy category. And when I look at my earnings, it's like, wow, where'd all my money go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you get a few cents of downloads. So there's a website called PayHip, Payhip, payhip.com. And if you want to make some money with your digital downloads, you just open up an account, you upload your stuff, and really after they take a little cut and you get your money taken out from Stripe or from PayPal, I'm making about 60-something cents, about 67 cents a digital download. So which is great. So now we got the Syracuse Funny Bone show live at the Syracuse Funny Bone. It's $15. It is on payhip.com/Mike Bova. And you got to get creative in this time because I lost my only source of income. I was working for a radio station before, and I left the radio station last June to go on the road full time. And I thought this is a great idea, and everything was clicking. And this year was clicking. We have shows, ready to go in LA and Vegas and all over the Midwest and down south. And then bang, Corona hit, and here we are. And you got to think outside the box in order to make some money because literally the faucet just shut right off.
Well, even when the viruses, I don't want to say go away because it's going to be a long time before that happens. But things have really changed. We talked to Tom and I interviewed some theater folks not too long ago, and I mean it's really it's going to change the way people go to shows. Even I mean, if you can't sit next to each other or they can't do things traditionally, I mean that's going to affect comedians. It's going to affect musicians. It's going to affect everybody, right? So you have to be creative. Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. All the performers, we're trying to imagine a world where the audience is wearing masks or somehow everyone's 6 feet apart. And the limit, of course, of 50 people max. Then I thought about it again and I was like, well, there's these big comedians like Larry the Cable Guy or, Jim Gaffigan, and they pack out, giant auditoriums. They sell out beyond, stadiums, Right. So maybe if there can only be 50 people and they have to be 6 foot apart, maybe I'll get a lot of work. Maybe they'll be like, hey, Mark's going to be Tyson, Mike Bova.
Right.
There you go.
More than 50 tickets.
Yes,
we'll be working, Mike.
We sold out. We sold out show. Here's what you can
6
do.
feet apart is perfect for us.
Yeah.
Because, let's say the crowds are really small, whatever. If you have like 25% of capacity, whatever. If you mention something, like if you mention pay-per-view, all of a sudden, like the ears, your cell phone, your Alexa, your Google Home, whatever, starts to spool stuff in your Facebook. So I found this really cool website called ViewStub, viewstub.com. And you can actually do pay-per-view events on View Stuff. There's no upfront cost because some of them cost like $99 a month, whatever. But what they do is they take 19%. You can either, have the customer absorb that fee, or you can absorb it yourself. But now every one of your shows, you can make that show also pay-per-view and get money from that. That people who can't make that show can watch it now in the comfort of their own home.
Wow.
Well, I've seen a couple people doing that on Facebook. One of my favorite musicians, like you can buy tickets and he's doing a show. I haven't done it yet, but kind of curious if it's just him sitting on a stage by himself, but you can, and I think musicians can get away with it a little better than comedians.
Yeah.
So you're both, Mike.
Comedians need an audience, even if it's a little bit of an audience. I played the Old Bananas Comedy Club. My agent in New York City, Marc, jokes about it. He used to be the agent for Leno. Now he's the agent for Screech from Saved by the Bell. Okay, we're not going to mention his name. So he booked me a show. He booked me Bananas Comedy Club. I'm like, oh my God, you booked me Jersey? He goes, no, I booked you Poughkeepsie. And I'm like, this is going back a few years. It said Louis Black was on Letterman bashing that place, right? He goes, no, it's where Seinfeld played. I get there, I'm like, yeah, back in the 80s, right? I kid you not, there were 9 people there. 9.
Wow. 9.
Hardcore fans.
But
even if there's one, right? The show must go on.
If there's one, I performed, I think, for 2 before. And so it's like I did a private show in Buffalo. The guy never promoted the show, and it was 2, and we did the show, and they loved it. And now they're huge fans, they're big followers. We did a show in Niagara Falls. They brought all their friends out. So you never know what those 2 people are going to
how they'll pass it on.
Amount to, and they're huge fans.
Hey everybody, make sure you check out our buddy Mike Bova's website, mikebova.com. It's MikeBova.com. Besides helping to produce the episode you're listening to right now, Mike is the headliner for the Big and Tall Comedy Tour and host of the Funny Business Radio Show. Mike is a business expert and a funny and dynamic speaker who is perfect for your business meetings, conferences, and conventions. For bookings, call 315-404-8200. That's 315-404-8200, or email Mike at events@mikebova.com. Did all of you catch our new amazing intro? Well, I can tell you that our new intros for this show were performed by voice actor Steve Zero and were recorded and mixed at Word Bubble Studios in New York. From audiobooks and commercials to e-learning and live events, visit stevezero.com for your sincere and strong narration partner today. Again, that's stevezero.com, stevezerro.com. Just amazing work.
So have you guys seen the Saturday Night Live shows that they've done where they're doing it remotely? And then, and Dave and I talked about it. We think they kind of film it and then give it to an editor who kind of puts it all together. But, doing comedy without an audience is tough. But
I'm suspect. I'm suspect on that Saturday Night Live thing. I think a cameraman and a makeup person and one of the writers comes over. I think there's a few people around there. That's what, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
They're not alone in a room. Yeah, not at all.
Exactly.
No. All the talk show hosts. I question it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm the same way.
One of the things I saw too, Mark, that I did not know, and I know when we talked to Mike, like all of us are sports fans, you were on Fox Sports. I watched Fox Sports. I watched football, baseball, Like, what was your role on that thing? I don't remember you doing that.
All right.
You like the Rob Riggle of Fox?
This will be a good story for me to close with, and I'll let you guys talk more. I'm not a sports fan. I'm a 1970s Mets fan, just to give you an idea. The New York Mets. From when I was a kid, I grew up in New Jersey. Yeah. Before I moved to Hollywood, I grew up in New Jersey. In New Jersey, we were the Mets. There were people who were the Yankees, but not me. Mike might be a Yankees guy.
You're a Red Sox fan.
Oh, you're Red Sox. Oh, God. I'm sorry. I just said that. Forgive me. Please forgive me. That was evil. How dare I? So anyway, 1970s Mets. I'll go Rusty Staub, Felix Leon.
Yeah.
I'm in Cleon Jones.
The Miracle Mets.
So, but the reason I got hooked up with the sports guys is because there was somebody pretending to be me on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not. And they had more Twitter followers than I do. But it wasn't somebody with the same name, because there's people with the same name, and there's even a guy in England who has my name who's super talented movie maker, by the way. I want to work with him. He's like incredibly talented. Spells his name just like me, Marcprice.
Right.
But this was just a fake me. And I think it was a comic from Canada. There were a couple of clues. Those guys are from Canada. The one
the Fox people?
No, the people from, the guys from Fox, right. They had come from Canada. Anyway, I thought that the posts were kind of funny, and I was kind of going with it because it was somebody pretending to be me. They had funny posts, a lot of followers. I was like, this is great. I don't even have to do anything. But then they started getting rude, and they started taking on people, and I guess those guys were some of the people they took on, and they started getting really rude and saying insulting things, saying, prejudice things, all kinds of stuff. And so these guys fought back. And finally, I had to just clear my name. I had to I had to contact Twitter and go, wait, that's not me, And what if this ever happens to you? They take down that other account and they give you all the followers.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that's nice.
I need to
didn't
find
know that.
somebody with my name.
Well, somebody took over my name on Instagram. I have another me out there for some reason. I can't get them to take it down, so I don't know who to contact anyway. Yeah, my picture, my name, everything, and I'm like, okay, this isn't me. Yeah. Anyway.
So Mark, but you did it for a couple of years, right? What did you do actually on the show?
No, I didn't do it for a couple of years. No. I just did a couple of guest appearances. I just did a couple of guest apperances. That's all. I was more of a just came on.
Wikipedia's lying then. Look at Wikipedia. They're making up stuff on you.
Because I was on like a regular on the sports show.
Yeah, that's what it says. I wrote down. I think it's maybe I read it wrong. I thought it said you were a regular on there for 3 years.
Well, it's been so long since I've worked. I think my fans go into Wikipedia and they wish for me. They
wish for you.
Credits that didn't even happen.
Now, you can change somebody's Wikipedia, right? I mean, just go in there and make up stuff. And I've heard that. I've never tried.
That's funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great story. Just real quick before you go, Mark, do you have any? Do you still see the cast of Family Ties at all, or anybody?
Well,
or
it's interesting. Michael Gross from Family Ties was a guest on my radio show just a couple weeks ago, and that was fun. And Tina Yothers, who plays the little girl on the show, Jennifer, she came out to a show at the Improv, and she actually put on her old high hair wig.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if it was an old one or a new one, but it looked like she had her old high hair. The audience was like, what? And she did some great jokes, and she was really funny. I didn't expect, she was just like going to be like a guest MC or something, but she actually prepared like a little stand-up bit. And It was funny. It was funny. And Michael J. Fox, by the way, was always like that back in the day. He could just show up at the Improv and riff, just a natural on stage.
Yeah.
I'm raising money for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. He's very appreciative of that. I've been doing that for a long time, right? Mike's even helped me raise some money there for the foundation.
I think we saw you on YouTube, the $10,000 goal. And I was kind of curious. I'm hoping that you eclipsed that when you guys did it over in Tampa.
Yeah, well, we hope so too, and we love nothing more but to get some good funds going for that good foundation that does all good work, by the way, really genuinely good work. When you donate to our team or whatever, they don't even take anything. It all goes to the research. And
nice.
And I've always felt like, hey, I might not be on the road at all if it wasn't for Michael J. Fox. So
yeah, no, that's awesome.
My dad and Michael J. Fox are probably the two reasons why I'm still going in show.
Justine Bateman was just getting ready to release a major film, right? And the apocalypse happened here. So in some ways, it might have hurt her more than anybody else on the show. I mean, she was doing well from the sound of it, but I mean,
she does all kinds of stuff. She does all kinds of stuff. Back in the day, she was real smart, and she was accepted to NYU, but she was making movies and stuff, and she didn't want to go to college at that point. I don't blame her. I wouldn't want to go to college.
Right.
I didn't do it. But she went back, and she actually got her degree and everything. She's a smarty pants.
And that's not who her character was.
No, that's what's so funny. She was
not a smart one.
Against character. So, Mike, are you going to sing them some songs here in my absence?
Yes.
And keep this thing rolling?
Yeah. I'm gonna tell them a couple stories from the road too.
Yeah, I want to hear some stories.
You can let it loose. You can let it loose. Hey, Mike, I remember when you pitched me Dunkane for the first time. You were just getting that started. Like, I remember how funny it was. And
Yeah,
it's still funny.
Actually, one of the lines in the song is your line. In the drive-through lane, they'll shoot it right in your vein.
Oh,
well, when on our last podcast with Mike, we've had a lot of feedback on that song. A lot of people love that song, Mike, when you did it on our show. So we want an encore, or hopefully an encore performance.
This time with video.
Yeah, with video this time. Absolutely.
Love your guts, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Great to meet you.
Special brother, Mike. You're a special brother. Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. You too. You too. Thanks, Mark.
Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands.
So check this out. Mark and I were on the road, and Mark, when I picked Mark up at that really cheesy, motel, I can't remember what it was in Syracuse, but he says, "Do me a favor, make me a promise while we're on the road." He said, because comedians eat like crap on the road. He said, "Promise me we're going to eat healthy." So we went to Oswego, and before the show, we visited a health food place, like a health food store, and Mark's getting kale and whatever else. And he bought one of those. Is it a bullet? One of those. Mixed,
oh right, yeah. Bullet. They call it bullet. Yeah.
So we didn't do the kale that night, and then we were on the road, and then more places. We ended up in Jersey at a hotel, and we spent the night. And I come out of the hotel. I open up the van door, and I'm like, "What is that smell?" I thought like somebody had like gotten in there and like died in the van or whatever. I'm like, it's got to be the kale that Mark never used, right?
Oh, no.
I put it in the garbage outside the hotel, and then Mark walks in. He opens up the van door. It's like, "What the hell is it?" I'm like, "That's your kale that you never used."
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So it obviously never gotten eaten.
No, it never got eaten, never gotten touched. And let me tell you what, kale smells so rotten.
Well, I know what broccoli smells like after a day even. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, kale on a good day is not good.
Yeah. Jim Gaffigan jokes about kale. He was on Conan, and he said, it tastes like bug spray. He said, if you read a can of bug spray, it says made with real kale. And he said, they can find out that kale cures cancer. And he'd be like, "I'll just stick to the chemo." I love that bit.
Oh my goodness, that is funny.
Stories from the road, I was doing some research on our tour, and we toured for almost 3 weeks. We did 14 shows in 17 days, and I remember waking up. We were in Chester, New York, Goshen, New York, downstate, and we had a late show that night, and they gave us like fried food because the kitchen was closed. They gave us I think fried fish and French fries, whatever. So Mark and I were eating at like midnight, and then we had to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning on the road to Albany, New York, to do a show for Mark in the morning for pitching the show in the Albany area. And when I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Listen, I didn't have a drop of alcohol. I had a hangover, and it was a food hangover. Never eat food and then go right to bed. I was sick, and so I said to Mark, he goes like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll miss the interview." And I said, "No, man. Let me get some ginger ale." And Mark wasn't feeling well too. And I was the road manager. I was the driver. I was I did everything. I just
everything.
Relax, and I even checked Mark's room afterwards because Mark would leave stuff behind, whatever. Double check the room. Because it was fun. It was a fun tour. But we would wake up in the morning and go, "Where are we and what day is it?" It was kind of like COVID-19 when you wake up and you're like, "Okay, what day is it?"
It's like Groundhog Day. Absolutely.
Yeah, like Groundhog
well,
Day.
when you tour, Mike, when you tour with Mark, or anybody really, when you tour in general, like you said, it's hard to eat healthy. It's hard to get on a right routine. And, like when you go from town to town, there's got to be towns that you roll into and you're like, can I just keep going? There's got to be some of those towns that you come to, and you're working, so it's obviously but it can't be all that exciting when you're not on the stage to find things to do or find anything interesting about that town, right?
It's really tough because we don't work. Mark and I set a precedent where we don't work Monday and Tuesday, and we like to take Monday and Tuesday off. We like to work Wednesday through Sunday, and I've kept that pattern because you got to have a couple days off. You just can't tour every single day. And I remember going on the Midwest tour. Big Ern was sick. He had a major illness, and he was in rehab. And I went on the road by myself. I had to get a feature in every city that I went to. So I was in Buffalo, New York. I was in Cleveland, Ohio. I was in Chicago, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. And so what's so grueling about the road is you drive to Buffalo 3 hours, you check into the hotel, you go to the gig, you set up, you perform, you tear down, back to the hotel, and the next day you're back on the road driving 3 or 4 hours to Cleveland, doing the same thing every single night. It is really tough on the road.
It's brutal. Yeah, absolutely brutal.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, Tom.
No, I was just going to say, to me, Monday, Tuesday is the good day. People don't get up and go, hey, it's Monday, let's go to the comedy club. Or,
Yeah, right.
It's a weekend thing. It's from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the right time.
Only in the major cities. Like, I was surprised because I did Zany's Comedy Club. It's the oldest comedy club in Chicago. I think it was like in 1978 when comedy clubs were really taking off. And they do shows every night. So they gave us a Tuesday night show. I remember it was October 1st. And like, yeah, we'll take a Tuesday night. And it was good. People came out, enjoyed the show. But it's Chicago, and it's so heavily populated that people are like, yeah, I'm bored. Let's go to a show tonight. Yeah. But, in any other city or any other town or village, whatever, like Monday or Tuesday. And Wednesday shows are not bad, but Thursday shows, here's the thing about Thursday shows. People realize that they have one more day of the work.
The weekend.
And if they tie one on, they can make it through Friday, okay? They can do it. So Wednesday, they got to make it through 2 days instead of one. So Wednesdays are kind of like, an early show. But we did a show in Stilton. It's spelled Steel-ton, Pennsylvania, Stilton. And on a Wednesday night, the place was mobbed, and they were at the bar when we left at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm talking to them, and I think they left about 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm like, you guys can party, man. It's a Wednesday. You guys got to work? They're like, yeah, we got to work, but we're up,
They can hang. That's right.
Well, I would tell you how the New York clubs sort of similar, where Monday, Tuesday, every day is a good day.
Yeah. So
LA, it's a city that never sleeps, right? It really is.
Well, you know what, though? I thought that, too, and I went to get a haircut at 11 o'clock at night. All the barbershops they never sleep,
The barbers sleep.
Yeah, the barbers definitely sleep.
But, they're the only ones.
Right, exactly. Hey, I'll tell you, tell crowd, I did play in New York City. In New York City, all the clubs, they're going every single night. And what it is, New York City and LA are tough because when you do a show, they're like Dave Attell. I don't know if I told you guys about Dave Attell, but he does a 20-minute show and they pay him like $20. Dave Attell, right? Yeah. And so somebody had asked me to do a show at Broadway Comedy Club. They're like, we want you to headline, come on down and headline. And they didn't realize, that I lived in Utica, right? It's a 4-hour drive, whatever. I said, okay, cool. What's the pay? They're like $25. 25.
Wow.
You spend that in gas.
That's like crazy.
No, yeah, it is. But that's big city comedy for you because here's how comedy has changed. When somebody does an open mic now, they are a comedian, right? It's like, no, you're an open mic person, right? And so really anybody who does an open mic, oh yeah, I got some laughs, whatever. Those were your friends that were laughing, okay? Those weren't perfect strangers, and they were comedians. It's like you got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of comedians all over the world who are, it's changed so much.
Oh my God.
Media, everybody's doing their channels and things like that.
Yeah.
And then what's really funny is they'll ask me to like watch their show or their videos. And like, what do you think? I'm like, it was interesting. Right? It's like, what are you going to say if it's not funny? I don't want to be
interesting. Interesting is the word. I hate when I do a play.
Right.
And they're like, I write it and I'm like, what do you think? It's like, it was interesting. Like, God, the hell with you.
Yeah.
You might as well just say the truth.
Tell me what's real.
Okay.
Just tell the truth.
So I have been getting better at telling people, like, there was one comic they're green. There's a lot of comics that have been doing it for a few months and things like that, and they think they've arrived. Oh, this so-and-so's funny. I taught them well. I'm like, listen, you need a lot of work, okay? A ton of work. And there was one guy that just performed. It was his first time on stage. He did a telethon, and he said, oh, I got some laughs, whatever. I didn't hear any laughs. And he said, what do you think? I said, listen, man, I remember my first time on stage. It was 45 minutes. I co-headlined with a guy from Last Comic Standing. It was not good, okay? You need work, all right? You haven't arrived. You don't have people knocking on your door, Comedy Central, Hulu, Netflix, whatever. So I mean, even some of the big guys are still working their craft. It's a craft that you have to work all the time.
It has to be.
Don't think you've arrived. Just keep working it.
And you're always coming up with new material. I mean, you always have to be writing new material, because if people follow you and they hear the same thing every time they see you, then I mean, you have to keep working new material in, right? And then going to some of the smaller clubs and testing it out. I think some of the big comics still do that, right?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of comics. You know, my school of thought is because I have a wife and kids, I don't do an open mic because you know, I know if it's funny or not. Like there's a good friend of mine who taught me to look for the funny in the joke. You know, he's like, Mike, it's good, but it's not funny. He said, if it doesn't make you laugh out loud, it's not funny.
Yeah.
Right. And so some of the parodies, he kind of helped me out with some of the writing, but yeah, you know, open mics, some comics do it. Like Jerry Seinfeld would just kind of do a show in New York City. I'm just pop in, I'm going to do an open mic, whatever. I hate the guy that follows after him, whatever. They're probably like, crap, don't put me on next, you know. I'm going to follow Seinfeld. But, you know, the rule of thought there is just work your craft. Just keep working it and keep writing. And so I've learned something very cool over the years is that, like, every time you're on stage, just weave in a bit or two that you haven't done before. Get something new in there every time. And especially when you're doing 60 shows a year, you want to try to work that in, because after a year's time, you want to have a new set. You want to have a new special. And I think my new one I'm going to be working on is there are two kinds of people, right? There are two kinds of people. There's the like Italians, right? They always say that there's two kinds of people in this world, Italians and people who want to be Italian. No. My philosophy is two kinds of people in this world. There are Italians and people who eat at the Olive Garden. Olive Garden is not Italian. I'm sorry, Olive Garden. I love you. Never-ending salad bar, breadstick. It's like bringing a Mexican to Taco Bell. It's just not authentic. I'm really sorry. And I do have the solution to the illegal Mexicans in America. Just speak of nothing but Taco Bell, they'll be running for the border.
Yeah, exactly. I heard that joke similar to that when the first Taco Bell legitimately opened in Mexico, and it was like, this will make you run for the border.
Right.
You know, speaking of, to me, comedians, and you're really a comedian and a musician, even if it's a parody, the difference is, like, musicians, you can have a run of about 5 years where you're on top of the world.
Sure.
And you don't have to come up with new material.
Right.
You can spend the rest of your life playing. You still hone your craft, but you're just doing those same songs. Sure. Whereas a comedian doesn't get away with that. You cannot do the same bit you did for 20 years. You know?
Those songs never get old. It amazes me that people still follow the Rolling Stones, REO Speedwagon, some of those bands, you know, Boston, that have been around for years, playing the same songs. But you know what? To see them live, it's one thing to listen to it on a record player. Well, some people do still have a record player.
I actually do.
They're making a comeback.
Yeah, they are. Or, you know, watching the concert on YouTube or whatever, but to see them perform live. And, you know, there's probably people that have seen Poison, and they put on a great show, by the way, 20 times, you know, St. Louis. And they remember the Grateful Dead? They had everybody following them. A friend of mine had a job working for NASA. Okay. And she was a, you know, book smart genius, and she left her job and followed the Grateful Dead.
Oh, wow.
I kind of admire that. I would never do that, but I think you only get one life, and to be like I was with the Dead.
Right.
That's what makes you happy, right? I mean, I think nowadays, and that's one of the things I think the quarantine has really kind of shown us how to really do what makes us happy and do things that we probably always wanted to do, but never took the time to do it, or never thought we had time to do it. And it's like, now we have no excuse. If there's something that you haven't done, or whatever you wanted to do to be more creative, and we haven't done that, shame on us for not at least trying, right?
Definitely no excuse now. You know, I don't have any time. Believe me, you got all the time in the world.
All the time in the world. Mike, have you ever thought about, or have you been approached about doing an album at some point? You're accumulating a lot of parody song music. Yeah, and there is a market for that.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is as soon as I get the green light, I just talked to the recording studio. I'm going to be back in the recording studio recording my my parody on Take It Easy. That's the next one they want me to record, which is my song about diarrhea, you know.
Yeah.
The last one. And there's some other ones too. The song about Tic Tac, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So I will have enough songs to put out an album. You know, I don't know how that works. If you buy the album, you get the digital downloads or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I have definitely in the works coming up.
Are you on iTunes at all? Like, is any of your stuff yet on iTunes?
Yeah, so I'm on, Duncan is on iTunes, and then, in Western New York and in Canada, all over Canada, like Canada runs on Tim Hortons. Okay,
yes,
that's true. Yeah, they do.
They call it Timmy Host. So I took Duncan before somebody else did this, and I made the song Hocaine, right? Which is
for Tim Hortons.
Yeah, Tim Hortons, and I changed the words. I changed the words a little bit because Tim Hortons doesn't have the turbo shot. So, and then like Duncan had donut fries for a while. So instead of if you want to get high, order the donut fries. I said if you want to get lit, order a box of Tim Bits. They got the little Tim Bits, the munchkin.
I'm a big fan of Tim Hortons. Every time I go up to Canada, I definitely have to visit Tim Hortons quite a minute.
I've got the song. Did I do the song for you before? In the Road Again? I think
yes.
So.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, but that's definitely
the kids playing in the
another good one. Another good one.
So that's on iTunes, Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify. Again, the thing is with those, I don't know. I think I want to say a few cents a download is what you get paid off of those when they listen for 99 cents. I'm like, where does all that money go? It's like the government. Where's the money go?
That's what I'm thinking because we put all these podcasts on like all the different platforms and and I'm looking at the whatever you can make and I'm like I'm not even at $1 yet.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
A long time ago, I found payhip.com. I actually published an ebook, and here's what I want to do: I encourage people who are writing a book, right? Like we talked about things that you've always wanted to do, like you've thought about it. Anybody who's wanted to write a book, which by the way, you want to write 1,000 words a day, every day, okay, to get your book out, because I think the book is like 50,000 words, and you got tons of edits and all that stuff. But here's a way to make some money: is first put on an ebook. So I had this book that I want to put out still. It's called Tidbits from the Sales Pit. And it's really like 20 or 25 tidbits I've learned over the years to sell more. So what I did was I took 5 main tidbits. Like one of them is like and trust. If a person likes you and they trust you, they're going to buy from you. That's a great tidbit to learn. Establish like and trust. So that ebook is on payhip.com/Mike Bova. It's on sale for $9.99. People have bought that book and like, wow, dude, that's worth every cent. And then I thought, when I recorded and put the stuff on Amazon and iTunes and everything, and it wasn't taken off, I said, let me put my stuff on PayHip, and then they can download it from there. Any digital downloads, just open an account with PayHip, and it's one of the best because I looked at some of the other ones too, and then they charge you like a percentage plus 30 cent per fee, whatever. I'm like, at a 99-cent download, 30-cent transaction, I'm really losing out. But I'm a huge fan of PayHip, and I really want to market that website,
Well,
nice.
speaking of marketing, our website or our podcast is really celebrating the independent artist, and we have people like yourself on that are touring and national, either musicians, comedians, or whomever. We like to give some advice to some of our new artists that are just coming up. And what's the one thing that you would give for advice to any new independent artists that are just getting started? I mean, from somebody like you who has been there, done that, and from your experience, what would you give? What advice would you give for somebody just starting out?
There's one thing that I've learned over the years, and I think it's the reason why a lot of business owners and stuff get burned out. Is because you have really high expectations when you get into something, and then when you don't hit that or even get close to that, you get frustrated. You start to get burned out. So really, just set some small goals. Like if your goal is to, people ask me all the time, how do I get into comedy? Well, write 5 minutes worth of funny stuff. Okay, just write like 5 minutes, time it out, rehearse it, edit it, whatever, and hit an open mic. If you get bit by the bug, you love it. Keep doing open mics until you get to the spot where you can be a special guest and then a host. I mean, there's a certain transgression or progression that happens. Then you become a feature, then you become a headliner. There's a natural progression that happens with
Right.
music. You know,
Pay
just,
your dues. Yeah.
Just write songs, or just, you know, kind of write. It's really hard sometimes because you get writer's cramp and stuff. And I was thinking about resurrecting some songs in my old high school. You know, we had a band in high school, ironically called Trump. Okay.
Oh.
And, yeah. And the drummer of that band is the drummer now for Kenny Chesney, country music star. Kenny
Really?
Really?
Wow.
2 blocks from each other. We had our
Yeah.
first band, like at 5 years old, he was drumming like a man. Okay.
Wow, that's
Prodigy.
crazy.
And I was 9 years
Prodigy,
old.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing guitar for like 2 years. I started at 7 years old. I started actually playing drums when I was 4, but I went to the guitar. And at 9 years old, and he was 5, we had our first rock band. Isn't that crazy? I got a band.
It's crazy.
Band in 3rd grade. So
Yeah, everybody, we're rehearsing when we get home from kindergarten.
yeah. You know, people will move to New York City to try to be a comic because they think that the right person's going to see them. Listen, you can be anywhere and the right person is going to see you. Don't focus on, you know, moving to New York City, moving to LA, whatever, because you got social media now. Really,
Yeah.
you know, you can do anybody can do Facebook Live. You can put your music out there. You can start to build a following. And my advice is to start to build a following. Instagram, you know, doing your hashtags and getting people that are solid, not people that, you know, like for like, share for share, whatever, but building a tribe of people who are fans, they're loyal, you know, because I'm almost to like 1,500 followers on Instagram. And it keeps, I'll be like 1483, I'm at 1480. I'm like, who followed me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Build your tribes, work on your music, get it out there as best you can. Try to hit a recording studio that, you know, a friend of mine's doing it very inexpensively. That's the reason I'm able to do Dunkane and Hokane, whatever. But, you know, surround yourself with some good people in the business, people that you should always be having somebody pouring into you, and you should always have somebody that you're pouring into. You need 2 people in your life that are strong, somebody who's mentoring you and somebody who you are mentoring, because when you get poured into, you need to pour that out into somebody else. Because I'm having Evan Carmichael on my show. My podcast is Thursday, and he's got a book called Built to Serve. And he said the reason why humans are so stagnant and get frustrated sometimes is because we are physically built and emotionally built to serve other people. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait for the interview with Evan Carmichael. But some good advice, hopefully, for people that are tuning in.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Are we gonna hear some music?
Yeah, you want to hear Dunkane?
Yeah, let's do it.
And the nice thing is, the Zoom thing is clear, and you sound. I mean, you sounded good on the other one, but this setup is you sound like you're right there.
Very well.
You know?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, look over your shoulder. I'm right behind you. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
Mark popped over now. He's right behind Tom. All right, here we go. This is Dunkane. So Dunkane is, and actually this evolved when Mark and I were on the road, because when Mark and I were touring together and I started doing my music, it was only a 6-minute set. Now it's about 40, 45 minutes. And we actually were penning out Dunkane when we're on the road on tour. So
okay.
This is a parody of Eric Clapton's Cocaine, my theory on why America, quote unquote, runs on Duncan. Here we go. Oh my gosh, I forgot the words. Holy God.
We'll edit that out.
It only takes one sip, Dunkane. Don't drink it black, cause their sugar is crack, Dunkane. That's a secret ingredient. There's no lie, I'm as high as a kite, Dunkane. For some extra rock, just add a turbo shot, Dunkane. This is Mark's line right here. And nigga try through the lane and they'll shoot it right in your vein, Dunkane. That's no lie, I'm as high as a kite, Dunkane. Alright, I'm going to talk about their food for a second. If you want to get high, order their donut fries, Dunkane.
That's what I'm talking about.
And if your donut is glazed, you won't sleep for days. And Duncan, that's no lie, I'm as high as a kite. Duncan, that's no lie, I'm as high as a kite. Duncan. All right, guys, help me out with this last one. That's no lie,
I'm as high as a
Here's a
kite.
cut.
Duncan.
Duncan.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's awesome.
Let me ask you real quick too. The Tim Horton version of that. Like I know last time we talked, you did impressions. And do you do accents? And could you do it in a Canadian, sort of a heavy Canadian?
That would be good.
Yeah, I'd have to work on the accent. I can do some accents.
You got to throw A in there a lot.
Yeah,
A.
Yeah, right. Yeah. EHA. You know, I used to go to Canada a lot as a kid because we grew up in Watertown, New York, right up north, and just over the border was Gananoque and Brockville, Ontario. So, yeah, and when you get into
heard that a lot.
Montreal once, and in Montreal, it's so funny because you know people speak French and English, and it's different. You know, I took French, and I'm like, I don't remember much. You know.
No, well, the French is different than French Canadian, which I found with my job because I translate a lot for French Canadian people, and it's definitely a different language. People from France will go to Canada in Montreal, and a lot of times they won't understand the language because it's a different form of French. French Canadian's different.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Well, let me ask, Mike, with the world starting to open up, are you kind of taking let's wait and see what happens? Or, I mean, because we're obviously not at the point yet where, clubs are going to open. But that's probably like phase 2 for somebody.
So what I'm thinking about doing is going, contacting the states down south. I don't have an agent anymore. I'm doing my own booking. So there's states that are opened up. Of course, Oklahoma, I believe South Carolina, Georgia.
Yeah.
One of the places that would like us to people would like us to play at is actually Oklahoma State University.
Oh,
nice.
I'm contacting them, and Ohio State University, the other OSU. Did a huge
that's the OSU.
Right? Yeah, it's like it's TOSU, right? The place I almost went to college, but they did a huge story on us. And when we go out to the Midwest again, because we do have Ann Arbor, Michigan booked, I want to see if Ohio State University will also book us. I do. Everybody keeps saying that we're geared towards college age. However, that
demographic,
But everybody says that your comedy is like really geared towards college kids, and so we're going to hit a college tour, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. College tours. I know for comedians, college tours are huge. I mean, they're some of the biggest comedy followers out there.
Yeah.
If you go to any campus in the country or the world, even you go to their I don't know what they call them, but the areas, the common areas where they have TVs and lunch areas and all that. Yeah. They always have comedy shows on. Sitcoms or nighttime, like late night shows. They love comedy.
Sure. Yeah. And I did a college. It was really funny because I did what they call a stress less week. Just how to deal with stress. And so I thought that they wanted me to come up with causes of stress, how to deal with stress, and make it funny. So I get with the lady just before the show, and I said, okay. So I got my presentation. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, I want you to do straight up stand-up comedy. She said, I saw you at a show and I thought you were hilarious. And I said, okay, cool. She goes, but you got to be clean. And I said, excuse me? She's like, you got to be clean. And so I wrote down my set list and I'm thinking, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, water that down. And I'm like, and kids are starting to come in. I'm like, oh my God. So I had to really ad lib and just go off the top of my head. And it was really super funny. She was laughing so hard. The lady who booked me, she's falling out of her chair and I'm like, who's snorting? They're like, Stacy is. But I want to give a shout out to a friend down in Stillwater, Oklahoma State University. And you know who you are. Yeah.
Well, Mike, you seem like a pretty clean comic the way it is. You don't have to water too much down. I think
I'm edgy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not raunchy. I'm edgy.
Right.
I'm a Christian guy too. I've had Christians like come to my show and then I say, listen, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. Okay. There are things that you may hear that you will probably say, I never thought I would hear that coming out of your mouth. And I said, but let me know after the show. And I talked to everybody that comes to my show. I'm like, was I okay? They're like, yeah, you were good. Here's the line. You didn't cross it, but you were right up against it.
You're against it.
Right at the
Well,
end.
there's always confession too. There's always confession. So you can have your comedy show on Saturday night and then do confession on Sunday.
Yes, there is. Absolutely.
And actually, I'll tell you, when it comes to the college things, one of the things I've been hearing a lot on the news about COVID is that it passes around a lot more indoors than outdoors.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to happen is the first thing that'll open up will be you guys going out and doing outdoor, which you can do at colleges.
Sure.
That was actually kind of, Jeff Foxworthy started hugely. He really got the giant boost at the University of Florida.
Right.
With his whole "you might be a redneck" thing.
Yeah.
And he was doing outdoor gigs at the football stadium. And I could see that those kind of outdoor mid-level things like being the next thing because people want entertainment, but nobody wants to die.
Right.
And if you got a better shot at living
right. It's like, right. The comedy show, it's like your friends are like, knock 'em dead. I said, that's going to be a possibility.
That might be a possibility.
Yeah.
Literally.
And in 14 days.
Jacksonville. Here's some good news, Tom. I did talk to Jacksonville, Florida. We are hoping in sometime in August, and especially with the hot weather coming down, summertime, whatever, and especially Florida. Florida is so hot in July.
Yes, it is.
So Corona's going to have to be quarantined.
No, I can barely stand to go outside.
So
Corona's not going.
Yeah, I'm thinking Jacksonville. Like we're talking about doing a regional. It's like a district show for it's either the American Legion or VFW. I can't remember which ones. I've contacted them both, but they're very interested in bringing the Big and Tall Comedy Tour down to Jacksonville. And then once we're down there, we want to hit Tampa. We want to hit Orlando. We want to hit some of these other places. I got friends and relatives near Jupiter. We want to hit Jupiter, and we want to do a Florida tour for about a week or two down in Florida in hopefully late August. So,
Well, and
nice.
If you do the American Legion, ask them if you can be outside, because doing shows inside at a Legion has a history of people have died.
Right.
The Legionnaire's disease was not a good thing years ago. I was a young man up in Philly back then, and I remember going, "What happened?"
Yeah.
And it was some viral thing that got into the air conditioning unit or something and killed like God knows how many people.
Yeah, we've done so many Legion shows. We raised so much money for veterans across the country, but they are going to do an outdoor show in Jacksonville. They want to do an outdoor show in the middle of nowhere, which is great. Just if everybody knows where it is, we're good.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, we can help promote that too.
For sure.
It's a 2-hour drive. I'd go up there for that. I mean, it'd be great to see you do your thing live.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to see you live too, Mike. Definitely in one of your shows here once it opens.
Show.
Yeah. Can't wait to see it.
People want to see us at that Syracuse Funny Bone show. Again, it's PayHip, PAYHIP, payhip.com/Mike Bova. My last name is spelled B as in boy, O, V as in Victor, A. And
what's on your hat?
It's $15. You get to keep it. We did have it on Kling. It was like a $6.99 rental for like 3 days, and we could extend it. But for $15, they can buy it. That's what the price of the ticket was, and
have it. Yeah.
Forever. And
that's awesome.
It's had rave reviews. They're like, it's one. People tell us all the time, you guys are one of the funniest shows in comedy. You're funnier than. We had a couple of ladies that saw Pauly Shore the week they saw us. They're like, listen, you both are funnier than Pauly Shore. I'm like, well, thank you. I appreciate that, But I'll put it up against Seinfeld. I'll put it up against Ron White. We're a great 1-2 punch, me and Big Earn.
Now, do you do shows on the stage together, or do you just open one does a set and you do a set?
Yeah, so he opens up with a half-hour set, and then I do a half-hour of stand-up, and then I do the last half hour is all parodies. And once they grab the guitar, it's over at that point. You get people laughing. There was one show that we did. We did a couple shows in Stilton. I mentioned before. The last time we were in Stilton, there was one guy who was kind of like had his arms crossed and stuff, and he said to his wife, he's like, "Take me home" and all that. And I grabbed my guitar and I started playing. They said he was laughing so hard he was crying.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's always good.
I love hearing those stories. I love hearing when people say, 2 days later, 3 days later, my gut and my face still hurt from laughing.
That's a good sign.
And we all need that right now, right, Mike? And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good thing. And the other thing is, since we've interviewed you the first time, Mike, it's been you've been very supportive to us, and I appreciate that, and helping us out producing some of the episodes. So I appreciate that, and can't thank you enough for that. And like again, anytime we can support you on the show, we're going to do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And the show you did with Ed Asner, phenomenal.
Yeah,
what a great guy.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. He's really amazing, and his family too. They were second to none. They really were nice people, and just the fact to have him on the phone even and be able to talk to him about some of his old stories about Mary Tyler Moore was just an honor to be on the phone with him. Again, thanks to you. So thank you for that.
I was amazed that 7 years ago. He's 90 now.
Yeah.
7 years ago when I did the show, a couple of the podcasts, he was 83. And I'm thinking, I had Ed Asner on the phone for an hour straight, right? It's like, how cool was that? He's just talking away. But he loves it. And really the autism awareness, getting that out there, that's a passion of his. He's got a son and grandson with autism. And I just saw another podcast. There's a lot of stuff coming out because it's 1 in 58 boys and I think 1 in 263 girls. So it is so prevalent, especially in boys, that we need to get the awareness out there. And one of the people I'm going to try to, hopefully I'm going to get on your show, help you get on the show, is Jenny McCarthy. Yeah. Generation Rescue, because again, another advocate for autism awareness. And then there's another guy too. He used to be the lead guitar player for Anthrax, Dan Spitz. He's got twin sons. Both of them have autism. So I'm sure I can get Dan Spitz on your show if you'd like to do something like that. I know you. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, we're it's hit close to home with my family. With my son. So we're definitely anytime we can talk about autism awareness. It's definitely something I want to push on the Stage Door show for sure.
We'll make it mainstream. Getting that out there.
Totally understand. Yeah, and I appreciate that again. So again, Tom and down in Florida, stay cool if you can, and stay in the house. I know Tom's in and out of the house all the time, so just stay safe. And
I'm essential apparently.
Yeah, you're essential. You are essential. You're essential to me too, Tom. Not just the state of Florida.
I'm essential too. Right now, I'm essentially going nowhere right now, but. Hopefully
I'll get out of my truck
I think the way things are going right now, it could be before you know it. We could be out and about. So, safely, hopefully. But best of luck to you, Mike.
Little by little.
Mm-hmm. But Mike, best of luck to you. And again, thanks for everything you've done for our show. And whatever we can do for you, again, we're here for you. And
it's been fun. I've enjoyed it every time we've done this.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Thanks, guys.
It's good to laugh.
Yeah. And we all need a laugh right now. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for letting us laugh. And again, we'll hopefully be talking to you very soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having Mark on as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Wash your hands.